This is milkweed, Asclepius, Syriaca, and that is a spotted lanternfly on the milkweed. I gotta hand it to them. They are kind of attractive, showy. But you can see the milkweed is called milkweed for a reason. Ew, there's another. And that is that it has a really white milky sap. So if I break the leaf, you can see this white milky latex. It's quite toxic. It has a lot of toxic glycosides in it. So in fact, that milkweed is the host plant for monarch butterfly caterpillars. Is kind of cool because the monarch's caterpillar can eat this and it's not poisonous to the monarch. Not only is it not poisonous to the monarch, but monarch butterfly caterpillars are able to sequester or take in the toxic alkaloids from the milkweed and store them in their own body and integument and become defended by the plant's chemical defense. So it's a way that something that eats the milkweed is co-opting the defense of the plant and taking it on for itself. It's so effective that the adult monarchs from the caterpillars still carry milkweed toxins in their bodies, and that makes them toxic and unpalatable to birds who will take a bite of a monarch and spit it out because it's so distasteful. So they're well protected by the toxins of this milkweed. In fact, it's such a successful strategy, but there's another butterfly that mimics the monarch so it looks like a monarch, even though it's not, to try to share in that avoidance that birds will avoid a monarch, and they will also avoid butterflies that look like monarchs, even species that aren't so protected. Here's a milkweed fruit pod. It's not quite ripe yet, so I can't show you what's going to happen inside. If I find a ripe one, we'll bust it open and show you what's inside that pod. Here's an immature milkweed fruit. You can see it's still very green inside, and I can see that there are some seeds. Those are all seeds that you see, but this one's not ready yet, so I can't show you the real trick. I'm gonna see if I can pull out a little bit of silk here. Yeah, it's just wet and floppy, so it's not ready yet, but when we get a really nice, fully ripe, dry, mature one, you'll see the magic. Here we go. Now we have some nice, mature milkweed pods, and in fact, here's what I really want you to see. Oh my gosh, that's beautiful. So this one's fully ripened, matured, ruptured, broken open, and I'm just going to break it off, and we'll let this show off its seed dispersal mechanism. Away they go. These are some really fantastic wind dispersed seeds. A seed like that can travel for miles on a fall breeze. We're talking about some really significant capacity to disperse. So you can see all of these wonderful floating seeds heading off on the breeze like a little parachute. And again, if I hold one up, this is actually the fruit. You can see the little seed dangling from the bottom there, and each one of these is going to carry that seed off and get a chance to really cover some ground and send those plants off to new spots. Away it goes. So that's our milkweed. A little bit of coneflower up here too. Nice to see the echinacea right in here with the goldenrod. I want to talk about seed dispersal strategies. Here's a thistle that is in the Asteraceae, cousin of artichoke, being actively pollinated by a bumblebee who's collecting nectar from the collection of florets there. And here you can see that Asteraceae flower on the thistle. And here's another bumblebee arriving, very popular today. So the nectar rewards of this flower must be good. These bees are visiting, and I want to talk about the wind dispersed seeds. We saw that already in our milkweed, and this thistle is a classic wind dispersing plant like dandelion and like milkweed. And so here you see the thistle that has actually gone to seed or actually fruited, and the fruits are these parachutes. These are the fruits, and I know we think of fruit meaning something juicy, something sweet, juicy, edible, but fruit is what happens in the ripening of the ovary. And so this extension, of course, is what we saw with the milkweed, has the ability to drift great distances and really sail off. So wind dispersal, or blowing your fruit with seed attached over some distance to go colonize a new location, is one really great strategy to get your seeds to spread around so that you can head off and actually find new territory. There's some milkweed in the field here too, but just a really nice look at all of these fruits with seeds attached, waiting for a day where the wind is strong enough that it actually breaks them free and they all head off on the breeze. Meanwhile, these bumblebees are really having a great time pollinating these. So wind dispersal is just one strategy. I got to show you two other pollinators over here. We've got a monarch who's actively also working the thistle. So the monarch is another great pollinator, and there are some other butterflies that are working this same flower. So this flower is a bit of a generalist. Bumblebees, honeybees, several species of butterfly, all able to consider this as a source of nectar, and all good potential pollinators. So how else do plants move their seeds around besides wind dispersal? Well, there's another plant that's here that's got a really famous method for doing it, and that's this yellow-flowered Asteraceae here. This is Biden's. It's just like the Democratic presidential candidate, Joe Biden, only it's got an S on the end, Biden's. This is actually Biden's frondosa. That's the name of this plant, but it's got a couple different common names. One of them is Spanish needles, and another one is beggar's ticks. And this is one of several plants whose ingenious seed dispersal method is to become entangled in your socks. Well, listen, socks weren't around when these plants evolved. They didn't really evolve to become entangled in socks, but they're really good at that. So I just stuck it in there, and as I pull this fruit away, the seeds have little barbs on them, and the barbs are going to get them to stick into my socks. Now, right now, these fruits are still maturing, and none of them are quite ripe enough to fully stick and tear out. So that's kind of brilliant too, that they actually become able to detach from the flower head only when the seeds in the fruit are fully mature. So they remain well attached, and they will then very easily, once they're fully mature, entangle in your shirt cuffs, your sweaters, your socks, and they're really a very, very sticky, barbed fruit. Right now, I can even, just with my finger, I can feel a little bit of that stickiness. And I'll show you some other seeds or fruits that are adapted for dispersal by that same mechanism. And it's actually got a name. It's called epizoochory, and we'll look at that as the name. But I just wanted you to see side by side the wind dispersed thistle fruits, and then these fantastic Biden's, that's right, Biden's frondosa Spanish needles.